Folks, it's Wes Rogers, technical agronomist for Bayer Crop Science, covering West Tennessee. Today I'm coming to you from a field in Wickley County, Tennessee, and the hybrid I'm standing here in particular is DCAB 6357, one that has been very successful the past couple of years. Some phone calls and questions I'm beginning to receive from growers this summer as they begin to evaluate corn hybrids is they're starting to see a lot of multiple ear sets per plant. This hasn't been specific to the in particular hybrid, nor has it been particular to the row configuration. We've seen this on 20-inch row settings as well as 30s and 38s. The question from them is this going to result in a positive impact or a secondary impact? Specifically, is that secondary ear going to rob yield from my primary ear, or will it attribute to the yield? Thankfully, Jay Mahaffey at the Scott Learning Center in Scott, Mississippi has done some research on this phenomenon in the past, and he's able to share some of his findings with us today.
Well, thanks, Wes. I'm here at the Learning Center, and I have done some work, or we have done some work over the last several years looking into this. We've looked into double skips and all sorts of things that happen in corn. It really started with our experience in evaluating planting equipment. In our experience, when we have a double, it's almost always something to do with the planting process. It's seed that didn't singulate in the planter. It's something, one that bounced in the seed tube. There are lots of things that can cause it, but it's usually two seeds laying side by side that came up. Our experience has been that it has very little impact on yield. If you compare a double and a skip is a total loss, and typically in our research, a double makes a little bit more corn most of the time. Suckers, on the other hand, are another issue. Suckers, for us, most of the time are pretty rare, and they're usually a symptom of some sort of mechanical damage that has occurred early in the season. There are lots of things that can cause suckering in corn. It's usually that kind of plant damage from frost, insects, or even stepping on a plant at just the wrong time. Now, the double ear phenomenon is a whole nother matter. When you think about it, there are really a couple of things going on. The desire of all plants really is to reproduce. And when you look at the double ears that you see expressed at the edge of fields and on end rows in fields, typically what has happened is the plants have more light, more resources, more fertility, and they tend to take advantage of that and set that secondary ear. That allows the plant to be a little bit more reproductive, make more seed in other words, and have a better chance of moving its genes forward in nature. That's the programming of the plant. The other phenomenon we observe is this little ear that you see about this time of the year, and we get excited about it like everyone else. And over the last several years, we've gone out and taken some data out of some of our tests, and it typically is something that is obvious this time of the year about tassel. You'll start seeing that little ear appear. The silks in it will show, and it's obvious, and we go out and document those and have tagged some of those over the years, and rarely do we go back and see those. It's really an impact of the plant hormonally making its mind up what it's going to do, because corn plants have more than one ear per stalk, and it's making its mind up which one of those ears are going to be primary and or any of the secondary ones going to express. We have gone out and several times looked at that, and the results have been pretty conclusive, and I'll show you something we've done this year in a few minutes. Now, something we have actually pursued and asked the question of, when do plants form two ears that contribute to yield? We've done this over several years, but in 2015 we actually took data from the yield contribution of primary ears and secondary ears by population. The way that we do this is we plant corn hybrids from really low to relatively high population, ranging from about 10,000 on up into the 40s. You see the yield response that we get from the hybrids that we did tested in this particular year, and up into the mid 30,000s or so, we see a pretty steady yield response from the corn hybrids. We even get some of the hybrids that respond higher than that, and our question was, when do we begin to see the secondary ear contribute to yield? And from this data, that's what's on the screen now, from this data what you see is that at populations above about 17 or 18,000, we see very few ears of those secondary ears that contribute to yield. And that has been pretty conclusive data over the years. We go out and try to do a little bit of this every year and see if it's remained the same, and it seems to have. So what have we done this year? In 2020, I've gone out and tagged plants down the edge of a field where they have plenty of light and resources. and they're showing that secondary ear that appears to have pollinated and is going to develop. We've gone out in those similar plots and we've looked to see if we see that secondary ear and the silks associated with it that typically appear about this time, and we did, and we tagged some of those. We'll follow those up with individual harvests through the year. And I guess in summary, what I would think is, and what I would do, if you see plants in fields that are starting to develop secondary ears, go out and look around those plants, see if they have extra space, if they have a missing plant next to them, or a missing part of a row next to them, and evaluate that. So if you'd like to talk about this in any more detail, drop me a note at the email on the screen. You can also give me a call on my mobile number there on the screen. Your local Bayer reps, Wes, and all the guys in the field will be happy to try to help. We look forward to seeing you at the Learning Center this summer. Thanks.